Good morning, everyone. This here is Tracilyn. I am also known as VCat on YouTube and Facebook too. I am down here at the Oregon District in Dayton, Ohio, USA. You remember seeing that sign? They got a beautiful brick road that runs through here. And right over here in this spot, I don't know if I have videos posted right now of myself busking, but I used to come down here every Friday and Saturday, probably around, most times close to 5, 6 o'clock, and I would stay till like dark time. Sometimes I would stay until 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning and play my guitar and sing. This is the spot that I used to stand at. And not all the time, but most of the time, at least in the beginning stages, I was in a cat costume. And I would play my songs, have my guitar case sitting beside. A lot of people would come by and talk to me, so I'd get hugs, conversation, they'd stop and listen to me. And sometimes, you know, they might toss in $1 or so, a dime, a quarter. But that's not what this blog is about. While I was down here, I started explaining in a lot of videos that I have online on YouTube on my Tracilyn, now it's called Messages, personal messages, I think it is. But the bottom line is, it's been called many different things, but I shared my life story back around 2013, all the way from the day I was born in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, until coming back here from Las Vegas. But I never went into a lot of the details, and since I've been realizing that somehow I am under the influence of mind control, well, I don't want to say mind control, mind thoughts. It's people that have access to either our supernatural powers that we haven't been taught about, most of us anyway, or they have technology. And they evidently are aiming it right at my brain, and they try to distract me from any kind of focus that I would have on my personal life endeavors. With that being said, I was going through a really hard time. I was living in an unhealthy state of existence with a home that I was staying in. I didn't really have a home, so I was bouncing around place to place, and when I didn't submit to somebody else's idea of life, I was usually asked to leave. It is the most difficult situation. What I mean by that is things could always be worse, is what they're always going to tell you, but in my situation when I was homeless is when I had a real good look at humanity, and a lot of serious intelligence came to me that made it very clear that most of what we've been taught our whole lives. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Good. Most of what we've been taught our whole lives is not necessarily in alignment with reality and truth. I want to keep this video short. When I was down here, I told you I met a guy by the name of Stephen C. Johnson when I was in Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville is a place that I was going in 2010 because I was writing a lot of songs. I was in a lot of pain when I came out here to Ohio because I learned how corrupted, I don't want to say all policemen are, but the laws have been formed and made to prevent us from living our life freely. It's to oppress us and control us and manipulate us into living into a very oppressed state of mind, or a very oppressed state of lifestyle. And eventually I'm going to get more into that as time goes on. But during those years of me escorting from 2007-ish, 2008-ish, up until I came out here, and up until I started to busk, I realized that I had other experiences where I crossed with officers of the law that shown me how corrupted officers can be. I'm looking forward to talking more in detail about that. So anyway, I'm down here at the Oregon District. I'm going through a lot of pain. Hold on a minute. We're going back to 2010. I was in a lot of pain. I came out here to Dayton, Ohio. I emptied my heart out into songs. I believed in my songs. I didn't have anything else to do with my life. I always wanted to live down in Nashville because I am a songwriter. I wanted to network with other songwriters like myself. I looked forward, just like any other songwriter who's passionate about country music and stuff, to play on a Nashville stage and to meet other people similar to myself and hopefully get your music heard or get it cut, is what they'll say. And maybe if you're lucky, sign on with a publisher or something, and you can spend the rest of your life writing songs and make a very comfortable living doing so. Why not, right? You want to commit your life to something you love a lot. Well, here's the thing. I explained that I went down to Nashville, Tennessee in 2010-ish, and that's where I met Stephen C. Johnson. And my whole experience with Nashville was absolutely beautiful, but I'm going to continuously send out warnings for other songwriters who go down to Nashville with hopes and dreams. Not to ruin your hopes and dreams, but I would encourage you to make sure in detail that you always protect your creative art, whatever it is, and that you're very mindful and very leery that there are very corrupted people in this world, and they sit down there and they will try to fish line you in to whatever their corrupted agenda is. In my situation, it was Stephen C. Johnson. I'm going to be sharing more about that particular individual and the encounters that I had throughout 2010 and even up to now. Because I'm convinced that if it's not him, it's somebody impersonating him. Some people online, if you look onto YouTube, will be talking about there's some kind of computer program that hijacked our mind. Some people will talk about a chip that's inside of them, maybe at several different places in their body, so they're under mind control. Jesse Ventura talked about MK Ultra, which is basically beaming some kind of signal down to your brain, I guess, to dominantly control your thoughts, I guess. You hear a lot about somebody like Alex Jones talking to conspiracy theories and stuff, but I'm here to tell you from my own experience, it's not a conspiracy theory, it's the truth. I always wondered, why was it and how was it that certain musicians, songwriters, recording artists that I met that were so damn talented didn't want to talk about the details of their experiences in the music business in a commercial state. And they were miserable doing other things, but they never stayed true to doing that. They kind of backed away. And some of the things that I was told in the process of that is, when it stops being fun, stop doing it. And music's always going to be fun for me no matter what. Whether I'm on the street, I'm in a venue that's appropriate for me to play in. If it's sharing the passion with other people by singing it to them or singing with them, it's always going to be a passion and fun for me. It's what I know that I was born to do. And if I was born to do something else, I don't give a fuck. Because I love music. That is my life. Now here's the thing, it is my life. So with that being said, when you believe in yourself and you believe in your music, and if anybody heard my music, you get it. You're going to try to get a publisher, a record company, other people together to form a band. You're going to do all kinds of things because that's what you're driven to do. You love your music, you want your music to be heard. It's not even so much about being heard, there's just something inside of you that keeps driving and pushing for you into greatness with your music. As an artist, for me, I'm driven. I'm very driven in that aspect. However, I have faced a lot of opposition and obstacles which say, okay, I'm not willing to do that, and I'm not willing to do that, but I am willing to do this. Mentally, I cannot withstand to function in the preconditioned society's idea of life that has been force-fed upon us. So the only thing that's really mentally keeping me stable, and it's personal therapy for myself that helps me through all kinds of mental states, is music. It is a necessity to me, like a fish that is in water, is what I've learned when I was down here at the Oregon District. Now, it's very unfortunate. I was never scared, but I didn't know, is the city somehow watching me? Are there cameras somewhere around here, do you think? Where are they? Are the assholes who run this city have cameras watching me, the piece of shits, while I'm down here enjoying my life? How do you guys feel about that? How do you feel? Some people don't care. I personally don't care. But I think it's a bunch of jackasses that are sitting on the other side of those cameras monitoring us because they abuse the technology that they have, and the reason that they tell you that it's for is not necessarily what it's for. It could be used for that. But in my opinion, when you give people technology, they're worse than little brats as children growing up, and they abuse it. And I personally don't like that being done on my personal life. I know my privacy is being invaded on a continual and regular basis. Now, is it because of chips in my head? Is it something that I inhaled when I was in Las Vegas? Some kind of alien existence? Or another energy source? What happened to me? Was there when there was satanic rituals trying to be performed on me? I witnessed some crazy stuff as an escort in New Jersey. Is there really, Satan? According to Scripture, that there is Satan, and it would be in existence. So if that would be true, then Satan would be on this earth, and it would be of one existence, a beast. Then I would like to meet the son of a bitch and kick him in the balls. Because I didn't come to this planet to have my mind played with. I am one of the people least likely to purposely harass somebody else. I've always minded my own business. I'm not one to put my nose where it don't belong. I always get lost in my own projects, my own desires, my own passions. And I had a lot of psychological lack of intelligence as to why there's a lot of times that I'm not connecting with people who are similar to myself. And the bottom line is because our school system, who yanked us from our parents, and by the way, our city board said, if your kids don't go to school, we're going to arrest you. Well, I'd like to say to that city board, you're a bunch of fucking assholes, and you would never yank me or my kid from me if I had one. But hold on a minute, you did yank my fucking kid from me. Lancaster County, Pennsylvania yanked it from me with their fucked up laws. And we'll talk about that some other time. We got a lot to talk about because I'm a different person now. And I can't stand when I look at the faces of the people who run this country. Donald Trump, the governor, the mayor. When I look at these people, I can't believe these are the people who are passing laws to make people like me, innocent people's lives fucking miserable. It is important to me that I find a lawyer who is obsessed with taking people who have access somehow into tapping into the minds of others. Because I know that Stephen C. Johnson, through conversations, has access either through technology or some kind of supernatural power. I don't want to get into it because I have no idea how it's done. So it's very obvious I look like a jackass because I don't know how it's done. But I know it's being done. And I would like to have that man arrested. He is the person that I met when I was down in Nashville, Tennessee. And when I would come here and I would busk, he would send messengers to me. Some people call these assholes Illuminati, the secret society, which I'm here to tell you is all of the political figures, for the most part, commercialized entertainers, and our religious leaders who work together as a team to try to control the masses into a state of oppression and lead them to whatever agenda they have for that year. Or maybe 20 years in front of us. And some of us will never submit to that because it's in our nature. We can't do it. We know we're not here for that stupid shit. So when this boils down to it, I dealt with a lot of things as to why, how could somebody so nice like myself, so loving and caring, with so much talent and ability, creativity, songs just birth through me. I don't have to sit down and plan anything. I don't have to study anything. I just play my guitar like I fucking play it. And next thing you know, a song can be born in 45 seconds. In other words, that's what I do. And what I've learned is, since 2012, it has been very clear that I have been being used as a resource by people in the industry, like what I would say are at least connected to John Bon Jovi. And the national acts similar to that. That man stood in front of me when I was in Cincinnati. He'll never stand in front of me again, because I have come to learn that somehow these people have access to invading my privacy. And they might not directly take a whole creative art as far as a song, but I can show you images and I can show you lyrics and compare to you that they use resources, humans as resources, in their inspiration or aspiration to write songs. They see somebody coming along like myself, for instance, who is a sign of change, believe it or not, because I'm a transsexual female. And let's just be honest, before the internet, we were all in a struggle with our sexual identity, our gender identity, and a whole lot of other stuff. We're trying to figure out what exactly we are. A lot of confusion. When we start tapping into the internet, we start socializing with people out of our normal, conditioned society in our local city. So instead of fighting opposition amongst the human race in our local cities, mine was Lebanon, Pennsylvania, where we were all dominantly taught through religion, this is the way one should live their life, and this is what a boy is, this is what a girl is, and all that other stuff. This is how you should love and be faithful and honest to your significant other or your mommy and daddy who are beating the hell out of you. Not in my situation. But that's what they teach us. With that being said, when the internet opens up, guess what? Now you start wondering, and I've always been one of those wanderers outside of the neighborhood. If you listen to my life story, I always went outside of my neighborhood. People said, you don't want to go up there, it's a black neighborhood. And I said to myself, I want to go up there because it is a black neighborhood. People say you don't want to go to that church because what's in that church is something you don't want to be exposed to. And I say, that's the church I want to go to. People say you don't want to hang around that person because if you hang around that person, you're going to be gay. Well, that's the person I want to hang around. And I don't see myself as being gay. Because there is no such thing as gay. We've just been taught what gay is. I don't want to ride off on this too much. But I'm here to tell you that I'm worth a hell of a lot more than I've been allowed to receive, according to Scripture, which is supposedly God's Word. And if it's not God's Word, and it's not a book of truth, then every religious faith that teaches out of the Holy Bible should be sued, shut down, and their leaders should be put behind bars. What do you think of that? Because how can you be teaching masses of people that this is a book of truth? Well, these are things that I wondered when I was watching Joyce Myers and Joel Osteen. Why aren't there teachings that I'm applying in my life not showing forth positive results in favor of a believer? Did it ever occur to you, Miss Michael, in Dayton, Ohio, that maybe these assholes either A, don't know what the hell they're talking about, or they're purposely trying to screw up the minds and the lives of the human race? We're going to talk about that in the near future. We'll break it down where I will actually share with you my experience of being what I would call a student of Joel Osteen, who had my mind on a flipboard. And because I was a student of Joel Osteen, I got led into the treacherous fucking pit in Las Vegas, where I realized for sure I was being stalked. And it's very possible they were going to do something with me. I was a student of Joyce Myers' ministry, where I've learned nothing but to love people who simply were beating the shit out of me mentally, instead of learning how to really, and I can help you do that, because I went through it. Don't learn to forgive people, learn to fucking walk away from people. Well, that's not in alignment with Scripture. No, but it's alignment and with truth. And if you listen to a crazy old bat, you're going to find out that you're going to be miserable your whole life, because you're in all the wrong relationships, most likely. These are the things they teach us. Be in relationships that beat the hell out of you. Nice people. Forgiving people. While I was down here, really quick, I used to have a Roland amplifier. And let me tell you, that Roland amplifier, I loved a lot. Because it was cute, it was small, it was battery operated, I could play all day long. I had to work my ass off for an entire summer before I could finally raise finances for that. It was about like $150 or something like that, or $225. Do you know how many hours I played my ass off? Because you assholes who have job occupations in Dayton, Ohio, and abroad in the nation of America won't let me work because I'm a freak. Because I'm a chick with a dick. Because I'm a queer to you. So I'm not allowed to fucking work and take care of myself and create a life that makes something to me? Shame on all the CEOs who own fucking businesses. You're a fucking bunch of sappy pieces of shit. Because I would have been one of the most faithful and committed fucking goddamn employees you ever had in your life. Selfish assholes. I can't stand business owners who refuse to let people work because their hair's too long, because their sexual identity has a variance to it. But meanwhile, they're a bunch of fat fucking lazy slobs sitting around smoking cigars and eating the most unhealthy, disgusting food. And all it is they're fucking jealous because they're too goddamn lazy to get off their fat, smelly asses to fucking what? Get on a treadmill. Exercise a little bit. I cannot stand business owners that will shun some of the nicest people, the most dedicated, most committed people that you would ever fucking meet in this fucking walk of life because of their physical characteristics. That's usually a sign that it's a fat, lazy, goddamn fucking slob who had a lot of fucking shit happen to them in their own life, so they're going to fucking damn everybody else of the fucking planet that wants to have a good life and take very good care of their self. By the way, I'm American. I eat a lot of fucking chemically induced fucking food. Because supposedly nobody gives a shit. You know, they call it no GMO food, or we have GMO food. We have all kinds of chemicals. It's because the average American decided to go to work for somebody else instead of working for themselves. It's because people didn't stick together and say, this land is my land, this land is your land, you know. Instead, they let these imaginary corporate companies, who are they? Who are the corporate companies? It's an illusion of bullshit, really. They are nothing. So meanwhile, most people would say America freaking sold out. And now we're all in suffering for those who have intelligence. We're all in suffering anyway. But the people who are intelligent are the most disturbed. One of those people would be myself. I can't wait to share with you how I ended up in the arms of predators. And let me tell you something, that fucking asshole who goes down to Nashville and is a corrupted son of a bitch needs to have his ass thrown behind this frickin' slammer. You know what I'm saying? Needs to be seriously investigated. He lives in Derby, New York, or at least he did. He pretended to live in Derby, New York, on Old Lake Shore Drive. This asshole is also connected to Willie Nelson's clan. You know, the son of a bitch that's been around since I popped my head out of my mama's vagina. You know, the one who supports lets everybody get stoned. Because it's always better to have a foggy mind, isn't it? And have a hell of an appetite. And cottonmouth always goes good too. Mama, this is the way you want your children to be, right? Sitting around and getting stoned. I'd rather see my children out and living. Not large, living. Not sitting around freaking knocked out with a fucking joint in their fucking mouth. Alright, so back to our busking. This is when I realized that Jim Carrey, asshole from Liar, 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 and other movies. Who knows? The Grinch. Had a book that was called How Roland Rolls. And I remember when I was here, specifically, I was talking to different people and I could always sense, there's something about me that I could always sense, these are people that are connected to Steven and the paparazzi who are invading my privacy. Now, how did I know? I have no idea. I know. This was something that I realized is the commercial industry, like the movie Nebraska, and there will be another list of movies that I'm going to share with you, and whether it be book titles, songs, lyrics that are in tying to my creative arts. Imagine how I feel when I realize that the assholes in the industry I was trying to present, whether it be a songwriter, a recording artist, or just something. So I don't have to just exist in this fucking planet. I have something to offer, but instead of that, they're all making an ass out of me and they're taking it from me. Because they look at me as the less fortunate one because I'm getting my ass kicked because I'm a student of Joyce Meyer's. and the Christian leadership. Dave Ashcraft from LCBC. Because I have a big word up here called jackass. I'm a student of Joel Osteen. So I'm going around trusting Santa Claus with my life. Not truth. Not intelligence. I'm not trusting intelligence. I'm trusting Santa Claus. Let me tell you, if you're a student of these fucking assholes, you are fucking up. This is somebody who is so brainwashed and so saturated from listening to these programs, listening to these teachers, that I ended up in the arms of these fucking goddamn piece of shits who just want to feed off of you. They use people like me as a resource. You're a loner. I'm not a loner by choice. I'm a loner because I live in a society and I'm an American. We've been taught separation. We've been taught to hate everybody's differences. Oh my God, he has long hair. Well, I hate long-haired people. Oh my gosh, that's not a girl. That's a boy, it has a penis. Really? Well, it doesn't think like a fucking boy. It thinks like a girl. Did you ever sleep with it? Do you know what a boy really is or what a girl is? Who defined it? Was it a fat jackass? A CEO of America, or was it some little Chinese with a tiny little penis? Who can't stand people with white dicks that are fucking 5 times the size of theirs on an average basis? Because notice, everything's made in China. Why is that? Why isn't it made in America? How can it possibly be cheaper to ship all this fucking junk from over in China to here?
Ship it,
How is it possible that it's not cheaper to make it right here in America? Quality. Like our ancestors did years ago. Now, I can't wait to share with you my experience of being a viewer of Joyce Myers and Joel Osteen. I can't wait to share that. I have personal messages for the son of a bitches. Because being a student of them have really fucked up my life. Because I became programmed to be a fool, which led me into some life-threatening situations. It led me into a life of dependency. I'd like to see Joel Osteen and Joyce Myers be led into a life of dependency. That's why I'm looking for a crazy lawyer to sue these people. Because they should be promoting with every video that they have that this is merely some psychopath's idea of who and what God is. This doesn't necessarily mean it's true. This is merely entertainment. Because when you apply their teachings, you will find out, if you really seriously apply them, it'll lead you to death. If you're not careful and wake the hell up and realize, whoa, something's not right here. Yeah, it's called everything you've been taught is a fucking goddamn bunch of bullshit. And you don't know that until you apply it to your life, sweetheart. You have to apply it to your life. I heed you. Don't do it. Because you will realize, oops, and you will snap. And then the whole world will think that you're mentally crazy. Why is that? Because you acknowledge the truth, and it set you off, pissed you off. So eventually, as it gets colder out, I'm going to explain to you about how I realized that people in the corporate industry were brainwashing me through Facebook, through YouTube, how they were writing books, recording albums, making movies, and it's in relative by them feeding off of my life. And it's okay for them to do it because A, they have the technology or the know-how to be able to do it, and B, they're not flat outright taking stuff. But on my perception of it, you can imagine that you become disgusted because you pretty much get tossed off having to take whatever you can take by a dumpster while everybody else is feeding off of you, and their purpose is to rub it in your face continuously. They love to rub it in your face. I can't tell you how many times I started off in the right direction for the moments that I was in, and because I was a dependent living in somebody else's idea of life, they would continuously take the means away from me or make it difficult that I couldn't do it. And because I was so down into the trenches, all I could do is be bedridden. By the way, I am a severe depressant, major. Some people would say I'm a psychopath. I say I'm an intelligent human being. And that's where my pain and suffering comes, is because I'm not stupid. At some point when I was down here and these assholes were approaching me to talk to me, one was when I was in Cincinnati. They were telling me while I was standing there on Vine Street that they know somebody who lives about 20 minutes outside of the city and plays their guitar. Did they say about writing songs? I don't know. I don't remember the details right now. Well, guess what? Right now I freaking live 20 minutes outside of the city. I'm not happy about it, but I can't wait to start talking about that. Because in Dayton, Ohio, we don't get the opportunity to select, pick, and choose where we want to live because we're the peasants of the fucking earth. So we're not allowed to see where could we live. This is my opportunity to start life over again. I just come from the streets where the cops were falsely pressing charges on me because I was a naughty person trying to stay alive. By the way, my ass could make more money in fucking less than an hour than most people make in a fucking week. And the cops say that's fucking illegal because our politicians say it's illegal. Fucking assholes. I say it should be illegal for our politicians to get paid to do what they do. They should have the right heart and do it for free. Why are we paying these son of a bitches to fuck up our lives? And by the way, we need people to speak for our youth, our children who are coming into this earth. Why do we have 80-year-old people or 70-year-old people running our country? Their thought process is outdated as so as it is. I don't want some crazy old man telling me how I should be living my life today. It's the crazy old people that used to tell me how to live my life and made me so miserable. I've noticed that when I'm around people similar to my age, or even younger, in most cases, not all cases, in most cases, we're in alignment with we get it. If you have a president of the United States who doesn't love his country and the people so much that he's willing to take the position for free, then you don't have a president, you have a dickhead. Why? I don't know, figure it out. It makes sense to me. While I was standing down here, a freaking jackass who was connected to Steven told me that I became a girl. I lived my life as a girl. so that I could have somebody take care of me. Well, the funny thing is if you listen to my life story and you knew the truth, you'd realize that I went to LCBC, which is called Lancaster County Church in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, where it's permitted for psychopaths to fucking tell you who God is. Dave Ashcraft. To tell you who God is, their idea of God. And anybody who gets it, if you really get it, the fruits of the Spirit is what God is, which is all the beautiful things of the earth. The gentleness, the lovingness, the kindness, the forgiveness, the beauty, the patience. Well, let me tell you something. Knowing that we live in a hard-ass world, in the human race, and you don't know that until you are on the street. Yes, the average person can be extremely nice, but you will realize really quickly that if you're not a hard-ass son of a bitch, your ass is going to be raped, it's going to be beaten, and you're going to be tossed into a dumpster. Why is that? Because the sinful nature of humans is, I will walk all over your face. Why is that? I don't know. Supposedly God made us that way. Well, when you get into the fruits of the Spirit, and you're living in a very vicious, as some people would say, dog-eat-dog world, you will simply find out, oh shit, I'm gonna have my ass beat. You can put this in alignment with people they would call sissies, a mama's boy, growing up as a child. They're usually the ones who end up getting their asses beat continuously until they take karate. Whew. That reminds me of myself. And they realize that you can't be nice to everyone, because if you are, one person kicks your ass, everybody's gonna kick your ass. So at some point, you gotta kick somebody's ass. In my case, by the name of Chris, at the junior high school, you gotta knock them on their fucking ass. So the whole school gets, leave me the fuck alone. I don't want to fight. You make me have to fight. Oh, so it's the same way through that as we go, in a worldly sense. We realize that we have to fight. It's not that we want to. I don't want to fight. I simply want to do what I love to do. I want to rock and roll and have the time of my life. But let me tell you something. That's true to a point, but when other assholes, like people in the industry, recognize that, they will frickin' take advantage of you. In my case, I was down here at the Oregon district, Busking, because I needed a lot of time to think, because I believed in Joel Osteen's version of Santa Claus, and I didn't know where to go to really get the help I need, because our cities, our country, our President of the United States, asshole Trump, doesn't teach us. If you are in trouble, kid, this is where you go. If you're homeless, this is where you go, kid. And when they say, if the president ever tells you they don't have finances to help the homeless, you tell him he doesn't have finances to fucking goddamn be president. You tell your fucking governor that he doesn't have a salary. He doesn't get a brand new car to do what he fucking does. And by the way, why do we need all these elaborate buildings for these assholes to sit around in all day and make rules, laws, and regulations about what loving, caring people are not allowed to do? Like use their ass to make more money than they could in a week in 3 days. Unless they were doing it all corrupted, of course. But hey, using your ass to make a living, that's corrupted. No, that's natural, motherfucker. See, money to me is freedom units. When you're born an American, they'll tell you, well, you're free. Go just walk down the street. Well, that's not freedom, because if you squat to take a piss, or you squat to take a shit, or you just walk up to something and grab something, a bite to eat, maybe out of somebody's garbage can. Maybe you take a nap on the freaking road, you're gonna get arrested. Why is that? If you're so free, why am I getting arrested for taking a dump right here? Who knows? They make the policies up as they go. They're able. By the way, there's more of them than there is you when you're living alone in the fucking planet. This is where I was told by a jackass that politicians, this was the time of the presidency being ran, by the way. I remember seeing the Obama bus or something like that was here. I don't know why it was here, so I got to reflect back on that a little bit. But I remember specifically that that's what it was about. Now, was he running for presidency? I would have to say I don't think so. I don't remember. I'd have to reflect back. I know he ran for 2 terms or whatever. At some point, there was somebody who came here on an Obama bus. And he talked to me. And I'm not going to say that it was definitely this person that came off of the Obama bus, and I'm not saying that they were running for presidency. Obama came out here to talk a few times somewhere near the area. And there was people, they do campaigns and stuff like that for whatever they're doing at the time. That's neither here nor there. But there was somebody who told me that entertainers and politicians get along. And I'm here to tell you that maybe entertainers and politicians do, because I look at politicians as second grade, never would have a chance entertainers in show business. So that's what they do. They stand up and they trick the masses of people that there's something intelligent, someone special. That's all. And I'm here to tell you that that might be true with entertainers and politicians. They get along with each other. But I have come to learn that some people would say you're an artist. I say I'm a recording artist. I'm also a very caring, loving, kind person. But I've come to learn that I'm a creator. And it becomes very difficult for creators who have been made in God's image to live in the creations, especially of amarantuses, is that it? How about just assholes? And a big part of that is you can't have access to resources because you are taught that you have to work for freedom units. You have to work for freedom. In other words, we're slaves. And they're only going to give us a little bit of freedom. And by the way, who the hell is working for $7 or $8 an hour nowadays with no health benefits, 20 to 30 hours a week, and thinks that they are living in a land of freedom? My heart goes out to anybody who's living like that. Anybody who's living like that. Then they expect you to pay taxes on that too. And by the way, you have to pay child support on a child you're not allowed to see. Why? Because if you want to see it, you got to go to court to see it. That's Lancaster County, Pennsylvania's mentality to me. In other words, they want to get you so hammered into the fucking ground. Then, when you decide to walk away because you realize it's the intelligent thing to do, you're outnumbered by a lot of fucking assholes who passed a lot of laws in favor of other assholes. Because what kind of mother would not want their other parent in their child's life if they love their child? Well, I love my child, and I want my child in the lives of its family, and I want it to know the history of its own life journey of ancestors. And I want it to learn things that I value that are important, like what? Your passions. Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, at least during the time, says, not for you. Why? Because we're a bunch of assholes. That's right. That's what I call all of them. A lot of smelly assholes. I didn't come to this planet to have my ass kicked, have my kid taken away from me, say that I'm not allowed to have equal employment and opportunities, to be one of the most magnificent creators of the fucking entire fucking planet when it comes to being a songwriter, and have my ass whooped by the entire fucking industry who's raping the shit out of everybody, and they're doing it. They think it's funny that they're messing up the minds of other people. They're doing it intentionally. Most of us do it by accident or not intentionally. In other words, we do things and we don't intend to mess up the lives of people who are listening, but some of us are intentionally doing that. And these would start in the lines of people who are in suits and ties, who laugh about the destruction they do amongst the human race. I'm here to tell you that entertainers may get along with politicians, but creators don't get along with the entire government. Why? Because the government is not for the creator. The government is not for freedom. The government is not for intelligence. That's why they want you to be stupid. So entertainers get along with your politicians, but I'm here to tell you, creators, they have no government, okay? Period. That doesn't mean be shallow and mean, be enemies. It just means that you don't serve under anybody except for God. Who here is going to let a bunch of old people bring our country or nation or planet into fighting each other, shooting each other, sending missiles off at each other? Who are these jackasses that make all the choices for us to go do that? They're the ones who should step in the ring, so to speak, and fight each other. Show us how it's done. And most people will find out that when they come back, more so than not, they're not cared for. You gave your life to what? To your belief system. And I admire soldiers, by the way. In fact, my daddy, here in Dayton, Ohio, was in the Air Force for a lot of years. And it's amazing he came back still in one piece. I was always proud of it. Because not only did I want to marry and love an Italian and have an Italian name, I used to fantasize about being with a military man, a fighter. Of course, it's different now for me. I just want to be with somebody who appreciates who I am, values me. Well, good luck, because everybody's been trained and brainwashed by our school system. To what? Let's just hate everybody, okay? We won't teach everybody about spirituality. Because hey, here's a good one. When your school board says we gotta keep God out of schools, laugh in their fucking face, because it's impossible to keep God out of anything, because in the beginning, God is Word and Word is God. Which means words are God, which means when you go to school, you're being brainwashed to believe this is a way that one should live their life. This is who you are as a human race. How do we know we're a human and that it's a race? Well, because we've been taught that. By the way, stand up and pledge the flag. Why? Well, because you should be grateful you live in a land of freedom. Freedom? I was told if I didn't come to this school, my mommy was going to be put in jail and I could be put in... What? What would I be put in? A homeless shelter? An adoptive what? Where would I be taken? A group home? Now what's so free about that? And by the way, what are you teaching me that's going to help me in years to come? And by the way, if you would put God into the schools, you idiot, you would be teaching these people to be nice to me in years to come. Again, if your schools are not teaching your kids psychology on day one, yank them out of school and send them somewhere else. Psychology is all you need to get through this life. Intelligence. Intelligence is God of the human race. And that makes it so easy to trick others who are convinced that somebody else who's speaking knows the truth. And I'm here to tell you who knows the absolute truth. Intelligence. Whatever is intelligent. Let us not look at each other for that. Now, I used to fantasize when I was an escort
It's Saturday. I tend to forget about those when I'm not.
that I was in a mafia family. That comes from a long stem of watching a lot of movies from years ago. Being attracted to men in power and being maybe the airheaded bimbo, the cutesy wootsy one. Knowing that I'm very well taken care of. And all I gotta do is love people. Light their cigar every once in a while. Maybe serenade them with a song as I lay across the piano. Seen too many movies, which messed up my mind maybe because I most certainly could tap into a spirit that was not raised around, and I was misled into my thought process that I want something that I don't really want. In other words, I want to be true to me, be myself, and tap into the Holy Spirit, if you will, into the spirit of goodness. I don't want to be somebody else. You want to be as close to the Spirit of God as humanly possible. And whenever you miss the mark, you want to run right back to it because it's the most beautiful place on the earth to be. Somebody laughed at me and they told me right here, while I was busking, I would stop and talk and laugh. They said the mafia is everywhere. In other words, there is mafia right here in Dayton. Who is the mafia? It's probably an illusion like the Illuminati, the secret society, who's pretty much right in front of us when we turn on the television. Woo, it's not much of a secret, is it? They also told me that when I was getting myself ready and I was putting on my cat makeup that I used to love to do, put on my little ears, fluff up my hair, that whenever I'm looking in the mirror and doing my makeup, checking out if there's something in my eye, that they can see me very clearly. They also mentioned that they knew about me putting makeup. I put liquid makeup on here because in this area, for some reason, it gets all red. And maybe it's the blood channeling through my forehead. My nose gets red. So I put a lot of liquid makeup only on certain spots. I'm not big into covering my whole face with a lot of makeup. So I cover some of the spots that, to try to blend it in a little bit with my skin. They could see the details of this. In other words, privately in our conversation, they were making it very clear that they are either living inside of me or there's some kind of chip with a camera on it and it's reflecting off of the mirror. They know the details of my life. They're watching me closely. Okay, now speaking of chip, while I was playing here one day, there was a lady. She was probably African American, approximately in her mid-20s to early 30s. Give or take, because a lot of people nowadays look a lot younger than they may be in a worldly sense of age. Anyway, she comes down the sidewalk because I would talk to myself a lot when I was here. Like I'm talking right now to you in the camera, but I would talk to myself in between playing my songs. Am I talking to God? Am I talking to my higher conscience? Do I believe that everything around me, the trees, everything is of life and everything is connected? And I'm talking to all of it? Does that make me a crazy person? Or does that make me an in-tune person? Or does that make me somebody who snapped because I couldn't live in the forced upon idea that was forced upon us by whoever thinks they're the powers to be? And she came up here. This was just after I was talking about a chip in my head, by the way. Was it when I was standing here? Was it at home when I was getting ready? And I'm freaking out because I'm realizing I'm being stalked. I've been being stalked since I was an escort. I also had spiritual experiences as a kid growing up. So I know that there's something that exists. I've seen angels, and I can show you signs of clouds that formed. All kinds of shapes, very obvious shapes. My ice cream of Elvis, with detailed art that is so mind-blowing. Where did this come from? When I went down to Memphis, Tennessee, and I kissed the ground at Sun Studios, and all of West Memphis lost its electricity for nearly 24 hours. And it is evident, if you were to call the electrical power company and they were to be honest. When I was a kid growing up, I believed that I was not hit directly by lightning, but an electrical current went through me. Now, does that make me supernatural? Does that make me something different? Or I don't know who the heck we are because we haven't been taught right. But I do believe that there's something inside of me, and I would call that God. I remember when I went to LCBC Church and I seen a black swirly thing in what I learned to be my second cousin guitar when he was leading worship. Now, whether anybody else believes me or not, I don't know. I don't know if there's a chip in us. I think that's all a lie. There might be a chip in us since birth, but I believe that we're much more than we've ever been taught. And I believe when we eat the food that we eat, it takes us away from ourselves, the things that we drink. Our focus is taken off. So then we start to manifest a life that's totally different than if we were to focus on what we would naturally focus on. You can only imagine what the world used to be like years ago before whatever happened. So I'm talking about this chip. How are people learning about me when they're coming up to me? They want to confuse you with the fact that they get how the laws of the universe work. So when they're listening to you in the privacy of your home and you're talking, they'll show up later on in the day while you're outside. They know the cameras are everywhere, and via satellite, there's a camera on us all the time. They can see the details of everything. Some people care and some people don't. I'm one who cares. And the only reason that I probably do care is because they've been doing everything to make my life miserable. And all I wanted to live was a freaking fantastic life. Doing things I love and being with people who appreciate it. In other words, living life to the fullest, every day, having something to look forward to doing. But whoever is now in control of our businesses here in America is a fucking asshole. Because my appearance, I can't work. I'd be one of the best workers they ever had. A little bit of schooling, a little bit of teaching, and away we fucking go. The most reliable person you would have ever met in your life. Only I wouldn't have been in alignment with my heart. And I never been taught how to be in alignment with my heart. And through later years of all the stress, mentality-wise, I have a mental breakdown. I can't live in somebody else's creation. God made me that way. God's word made me that way. I am not called as a human being, if you will, to submit and be a slave to somebody else's creation. I am here to create and do what I do. And when you're doing that, you have no time to mind what everybody else is doing. Always keep that in mind. So, this lady, she came up here on the sidewalk. How y'all doing? She came up here on the sidewalk and she started screaming right here. I'm not sure if she had a cardboard sign or not. She started screaming. They put a chip in my head. They put a chip in my head. They put a chip in my head. Then she proceeded to come from being right in front of me, because I'm looking at her like, okay, where did this come from, huh? Then she stood right over here. And she kept on freaking out. They put a chip inside my head when I was at the hospital. Well, that's what I used to say. In 2009, I woke up with the suspicion that a chip was put into my forehead. I screamed to my sister, and my sister did not believe me. I don't know if there was a chip put into my forehead. I would like to find out if there was. In fact, hello, hi. In fact, whenever I got a CT scan, an MRI, an X-ray, on my face specifically, I would always ask them, did they see any signs whatsoever of a chip? Well, if there was, do you think that they would tell me? What do you think? Do you think if there was a chip in your head and you went to have an MRI done or something and it came up, do you think that they would tell you? Or do you think that they would be instructed not to say anything? So I don't know if there's a chip inside. Let's see what else we have here. So anyway, get that while I'm standing here, I'm rocking and rolling, I'm having the time of my life, I have my cat costume. I'm trying to forget all that I've been through my whole life. I had a nervous breakdown. I was bedridden for years. Serious depression. I talk all the time to myself. People are telling everybody I'm crazy. I can't get any work because there's so much judgment. And even if I did, I couldn't survive on it. The best job I got when I was out here in Dayton, Ohio, back in the day, was only for 45 minutes a day. Now how the fuck is somebody gonna live on that? Well, they're not. And I shouldn't be working for fucking goddamn 45 minutes a day. I should be living my life and receiving freedom every time I'm doing it. And I'd like to meet the politician that says I'm not entitled to a life of freedom. Is it the president? Who's gonna tell me I'm not entitled to the freedom? By the way, I have more talent in my little pinky than most of these politicians have in their whole existence. I'm sick of continuously having obstacles. And all I want to do is live my life and have fun. And the reason why I have all this shit going on in my head, I'm bipolar. I suffer from major depression. I have serious personality disorders. Well, why is that? Because I'm American. Why don't they just have that? Because you're an American. So your head's all fucked up. By the way, television programs have gone far into screwing up the whole thought process. Be careful when you listen to my messages. Don't fall into agreement. It's okay to disagree. In fact, I encourage it, but be leery of the things that I do say because there is a lot of factual truth within it. So you can imagine how freaked out I was. Everything that I talk about when I'm at home living in Huber Heights, to myself in the privacy of my home, these people are bringing to my attention when I'm out here busking on the street. They like when you go out into the street somewhere, because then they send people down to you with little messages. And I was always nice. I would say for the most part they were always nice to me, but it's like they kind of want to rub things in your face. To me, they are like superior intelligence of psychologists that are like psychopaths. So they like to get into your mind. In fact, I was standing either here or in Yellow Springs when the person told me, I am attracted to the mind. In other words, it's not outside appearance that matters. They're attracted to the mind because they like to play mind games with people. That's where a lot of pain and suffering comes. You get into the thought process of the mind, it's like a computer. They can put viruses into your mind and then all of a sudden you're in pain and suffering, but there's nothing wrong with you. It's because your thought process is all messed up. They put programs in the human race intentfully to screw up their lives. Let me ask you something. I seen on Facebook, there was somebody who said Donald Trump has done a lot for this country. I don't know what he did for this country because I don't follow politics. But I'm somebody who went through a spiraling loop and ended up where I did, and I see things much different because I'm going through it. And I'm looking forward to sharing with you the details. And the way I see it, there are far more important matters than are discussed in most situations. Do you really believe that any time that this country was under attack, at any given time, do you really think that it was somebody who lost their mind? Or do you think it was intentfully and intelligently brought together? Anytime you believe that something happened, like in Las Vegas or something like that, they're gonna tell you one thing, but does that mean it's true? It's so easy to tell people when you're in a position, when you're wearing a suit and tie and talking in front of people, you're gonna fall as what? You're gonna take for what they say as granted, because why would that person in a suit and tie in that position lie to me? Well, I'm here to tell you, because most likely that's what they are here to do. They will tell you whatever they're told to tell you. But let me tell you, it doesn't mean it's true. But let me tell you, if it's somebody you think would never lie to you, but is going to tell you the truth, you would be convinced that that is, nope, that person said it, it has to be true. And I'm here to tell you, if that person said it, most likely you can't believe it. What makes me mad is I didn't want to get involved in politics at all throughout my life. I am not the kind of person most likely to sit down and listen to a politician speak. I thought Obama was extremely handsome, just like the rest of the country. Very good-looking, human being. I have nothing negative to say about anybody. I admire different character features, just like George W. Bush Jr. was very cute. Donald Trump is extremely handsome. But I'm not in agreement with the fact that we have leaders that it is so obvious that they're basically front people to entertain people who have interest in it. The people who are really running this country would never let somebody in a position like that who actually will say, this is what's going to happen, and it's going to happen. Because that person would be removed from that political standpoint. They have no other choice. It's a Broadway show, baby. And we are being tricked continuously. That this is people that we can trust with our lives. So I got one more thing to say. It was very obvious to me that when I was coming down here, I met, number one, a lot of beautiful, fun people. I had a lot of fun times and some not so fun times. I looked forward to it. It's the first time in my life when I was playing my music, being myself, dressing the way I want, dancing the way I want, playing as loud as I want to. I didn't have to adapt myself to an atmosphere. That's why I can't stand to play in venues, especially as a solo entertainer. Because I can't stand to constantly change everything about myself to adapt to somebody else's idea of life. And when I play hard. And when I sing the way I want to. That's in alignment with myself, that turns me on, sets my soul on fire. I'm sick of always having to adapt myself to everything else. When I know being myself and you being yourself, us being ourselves is the best place in the world to fucking be. If for anyone else, ourselves. I always wondered about people like the father of rock and roll, seem to have like a mental thing going on there. People I have crossed paths with, other songwriters that a lot of singer-songwriters that were national acts, if you will, seem to admire, but these other people never really did anything, but they always seem to have something going on in their head. Well, let me tell you something. These assholes who are considered national recording artists, they steal from people they think are fucked up in the head. Because they're in tune with the universe in a much different way than the average person. That's why their head's usually all messed up. Because it's a psychological thing you don't really get. But you are extremely gifted. We're all gifted. And these national recording artists will catch whim of it, and before you know it, they kind of like have their own secret way of communicating with each other, however it's done, the internet or whatever, who knows? And rest assured, they will pay you visits. They might just walk by you. They may approach you and talk to you, thinking you ain't gonna know who the hell they are. Or maybe they don't give a shit. But nevertheless, to even have a close thought that they have access to invading your privacy, I have so much to share about how it all happened. I don't want to waste too much time on this, except to tell you that this is a place I used to love to come to play. I would meet a lot of nice people here. I learned a lot about life being on the street. I learned a lot about what I love about myself. Relationships. I do better in passing. I can't live directly in somebody else's idea of life, and I can't directly work in somebody else's atmosphere because that's their own creation and their idea of how it should be ran. I can't function to that. So I'm in kind of a turmoil here. You see, because the fucking bastards in the music industry, whoever the hell they are, recording companies, producers, shit, I'll outright the whole fucking cities. I get the right team of people together, we'll outproduce everyone. Because I got the songs that make the whole world want to sing. Because it's my life. It's real. Whoever's the head honcho down in Nashville, you're a fucking asshole. Why the hell would you pass by somebody like Tracilyn, who is an icon star, baby? Natural at birth. A hell of a songwriter, just gives birth to him. Don't have to use too much mentalness to think things through. A natural beauty. The head honcho down in Nashville, you have no intelligence. You're probably the biggest dickhead in the fucking planet. If for any other reason, because you would let something like this pass through your city and you wouldn't stop to say, my dear, my sweet, you must stay. Now you have to live with yourself the rest of your life, knowing that you passed that up. Last but not least, while I was in Cincinnati, I mentioned to you that somebody had mentioned I know somebody who lives about 20 minutes outside of the city in an apartment building. I don't know exactly the details as how they said it. That plays guitar, writes songs, what have you. In other words, they were kind of hinting at you. Well, look, you know what? All you fucking bastards, all of you were nice to me when I was on the street, but that's beside the point. What's beside the point is I hate people talking around my head. Jesus Christ, that takes you know how many years this has been going on? Just fucking talk directly to me, I'm a human being. Hi! At least that's what I've been taught. I am so thankful that I had the opportunity to open up about this. You know, a lot of people would be scared because their life would be taken years ago. I remember when I talked to somebody who wrote a song about a transsexual female that lost her life because she was beaten here in Ohio for singing songs about revelation. Why just write songs about my life journey? No intention was ever intended, except for to do it and have a great time. This is a time when I was down here and these son of a bitches were trying to distract me into going back to an old way of life. See, I used to do solo acoustic shows. I did cover songs as well as original material. I did over 1,000 paid performances. I was quite well known in a local community. Let me tell you something, you gotta work your ass off if you're going to make a living at it. And I never psychologically really got, why isn't there some kind of relief? Is it tour management? Is it a record deal? Become a national recording artist? Other musicians who will not be dedicated like I'm fucking committed to it. This is where I was standing when they said what? The same fucking things that I'm telling you. In other words, nobody wants it as bad as I do. Whatever it is, which is to live life and have a blast. So, they know all of this about me, and they would continuously try to get me, influence me to take the nose ring out, to take the earrings out, to wash the makeup off, to go play a bar room. Well, I don't want to be an asshole, but I don't want to play bar rooms. I believe that I'm worthy of playing much nicer facilities. Different. By the way, I played over 1,000 bar rooms, and I'm pretty much sick of playing them. This is where I dressed in a similar outfit. I had boots, jeans, bigger jeans actually, and a shirt. And they made it very clear that outside of wearing my costume, a dress, a skirt, lingerie, that this was pretty much how they liked me to be dressed. Meaning the person on the other side who's sending the messages. One thing I can't stand is people who can't just look at you and love you for who you are and know that you can dress many different ways. And if they really want you to dress a certain way, why the fuck don't they buy you the clothing? Instead of making you take your own minimal of resources and going out and trying to dress appropriately in their idea of what they want you to dress like. I can't stand people like that. I couldn't imagine putting that kind of pressure on somebody to constantly tell them to dress the way you want them to dress. There's lots of people in the world that do that. I personally do not like to be connected to people who want me to be their idea of life. In other words, show me how to do it, don't tell me how to do it. If you want to wear jeans and a t-shirt and take all the nose rings and earrings out, go do it, be my guest. But don't tell me to do it. And by any means, don't tell me to go play a barroom. Yes, there's lots of nice barrooms down here, by the way. The Oregon District is a beautiful place to be. I have so much to share about my venue experience. I believe that I'm here to play family-oriented venues. That's what my heart's desire. I don't get off on playing in a venue and encouraging people to drink. If anything, I would like to encourage people in other ways. Let people who want to drink entertain the people who like to drink. I personally have had a lot of bad experiences with alcohol. I had a serious addiction. In my opinion, I should sue the crap out of the beer distributors. Because my life was wrecked because of alcohol. My mother's life was wrecked because of alcohol. The girl I dated when I was younger's life was wrecked because of alcohol. So I don't want to support it, okay? I do drink on occasion, by the way. Wine is what I prefer, but I struggled for years. I've been drinking alcohol since I was a child, before elementary school. Before our wonderful city council forced my mom to make me go to school when I didn't want to. I was already getting drunk. Thank you, Mommy. There's so many other ways to use your talents and gifts. There's so much other stuff to do. That's not what I want to do. I already did it. And I met a lot of nice people in the process of doing it. To each his own. You want to drink, drink. I personally don't want to say, I don't want to walk into a venue and my main goal is I got to sell as much alcohol as possible that night for people. I can do it. I did it. I could be top seller. I don't want to do that with my life. My talents. Why do I want to use my talents to sell alcohol? Dickheads. Now, we're gonna get going. There's all kinds of things I'd love to share right here. Know this, I love the Oregon District. I love Dayton, Ohio for it being Dayton, Ohio. The Oregon District is beautiful. People of Ohio on the most higher percentage are extremely friendly, beautiful people. I got into all kinds of wonderful conversations. That's not what this video is about. I met a lot of wonderful people, laughed a lot, danced a lot, sang a lot. And there's some people that I still talk to on Facebook that really do something to my heart. Meaning, they touched me in ways I will never forget. And I love everybody who was supportive of me during these times. They were awful times in my head, because I would have never thought that I would end up in what I consider to be the middle of nowhere, singing my heart out on a street corner. But I gotta tell you, I would much rather do this than play a bar, my good friend. Any day. I sweated my ass off here, and in my opinion, they should put a star there for me. Tracilyn, also known as VCAT. The greatest singer-songwriter, recording artist, creator to ever come out of Dayton, Ohio. To ever exist in Dayton, Ohio. When I came here to Dayton, Ohio, my heart meant so well. I wanted to be part of a community, a city that wanted to do something with itself. Only I didn't want to have to do everything by myself for myself. I learned through reading up on history that this has quite the amazing history of intelligence. More than likely, the mafia, if you will, from Dayton, Ohio, raped the shit out of a lot of fucking people that I myself admire. Because that's what they do. They steal your identity. They steal all your creative insight. Oh, sure. They make all the laws so they know what they can take and what they can't take. And they'll tell you, don't you dare, unless you see a song in its entirety. And I'm here to tell you, my ideas are all over the fucking planet. And it's because they have access to invading my privacy. I'm gonna get going. My battery's kind of getting low. I shared more than I cared to when I was here. I can reflect back on almost the very first day I was here. I don't want to end it on the note of what people would perceive as negative. I'm being honest about the stuff that happened to me when I was here. There's no negativity. I don't perceive it as negative. I perceive it as factual. And I don't want to leave here not letting you know how much this spot right here is my favorite spot on anywhere in this country to play my guitar and sing. So know that I don't want you to think that this is a bad spot. To me, I hope someday that I'm alive years from now and I see somebody else playing here that has heart, passion, and says, I refuse to submit to a bunch of assholes' idea of what I should be doing with my life. Because I would say that that's the person who's going to be a world changer. I would like to also say that while these son of a bitches were trying to get me to go back as what they would say, Todd, because see, I was born into the world where we're told who we should be, and my mom named me Todd. The doctor smacked me on the ass, and because I had a dick, I was considered to be a boy. So they made that on my birth certificate. Well, let me laugh in your face. I am no longer a boy, I am a female because I identify in my own mind as a female species. What we've been taught is the female species. Can that be true? Well, I'm standing here and I'm alive. Right in front of your face. And this is where I realized, because of information I shared with Stephen C. Johnson up in New York, that they were using my life story, because I shared the details, my life story, little things that I do that nobody else does, by naturalness, song ideas, song storyline ideas. They were using all of this. They feed off this. This is how they stay where they are. They use people like me as a resource. And they think that they're all messed up, and if they're not, they will try to purposely fuck up your head. They will try to build you up try to encourage you, and then they'll try to get you going in a direction they want you to go. And if you don't, then they will start going the other way and trying to smolder you out until you kill yourself, or they have you killed by somebody else. What ended up happening is, this is the very spot that I realized when I was standing here one day, that guess what? That Bruce Jennings, or whatever the hell his name is, or I guess her name, I don't know. I don't follow entertainment anymore because it's very dangerous. You don't want to be like these people. You want to be your natural self. That's what we all need, and that's what we desire, but we just might not be in tune. With that being said, isn't it funny they're trying to get me to go back to being Todd, in their sense, a male, because Todd used to go and play bar rooms and sing cover songs and all that. Well, if I'm busy being something that I was told to be, and I'm playing bar rooms when I don't want to play bar rooms, and I'm singing cover songs and I want to sing my own songs, when am I ever going to tap into my nature, be Tracilyn, who God says is my heart? That's the center core of who I am. God gave me a new name, right? Goodness gave me a good name. This is where I realized, oh, so that's how it works. I also realized that what I believe, I don't know if it's true or not, but people from Kentucky are notorious for taking people's ideas and creative insight from Dayton, Ohio. Because I met somebody who was a hell of a songwriter, and listening to his story, having the intelligence that formed through the years, I realized that there was somebody else that I used to admire that had music very similar. And then I realized in our conversations that most likely, no guarantee, this son of a bitch took this person and fed off of him for resources because he's a hell of a songwriter. And to some people, he may appear to have a little things going on up there, as I do and we all do. So, I don't know the lady's name, and I mean no disrespect. But isn't it funny that all of a sudden, when I start coming out with my life story, BAM! They're making a move really quick. Very quickly. Out of nowhere. You see, because when somebody starts rising up, or a lot of people start rising up, they're looking for what they believe is not either a leader in some sense, but somebody who has a hell of a story and is uniquely different. Thank you. And what they would do is they would have the entire entertainment industry somehow, some way it's happening. And they will use them as a resource by feeding off of them, observing them in the privacy of their home. Or is it someone who's observing them in the privacy of their home, taking way and telling other people what to do with it? But this is where I realized that Bruce something, who's a transsexual female, so I mean no disrespect whatsoever, but I realized that's when they came out. Okay? And the whole thing is when I came here to Ohio, I went through a lot of oppression, and the whole thing for me was in my struggle is I wanted to share my life story, do my music, and I wanted to do a lot of other things. Until I started to realize how corrupted the industry is. So, I met other homeless people when I was down here playing. Street folk. And I gotta say that I'm pissed because during this time should have been the most beautiful times of my life, and they are. But I didn't need people from a distance like Stephen C. Johnson fucking with my head, or people in the industry. And they'll tell you don't use names of people like Miley Cyrus or Taylor Swift or, you know, anybody else, the Bruce person, in your conversations. when you're on the camera? Because you can't directly prove anything. No, I can only give you insight. Because when you tie my whole story together and I share with you bits and pieces, like with Bon Jovi, I can show you images and I can only give you a little bit of insight that says most likely somehow this inspiration of myself was passed on to him or he directly took it, however you want to say. Now, because the laws of the land that they all create says, oh, there's nothing illegal that was performed here, intelligence says, why do we as a human race look up to assholes like that? The only reason the rich are rich is because they rape the shit out of anybody else or all people who have any creative insight. They take whatever is happening within societies like ourselves, the people who are going through the struggles, and that's what they do. They feed off of you while you're going through your struggles. They write books, they do movies. Well, who gives them permission and how do you feel about it? Some people don't care, right? I care. Because I wasn't taught that people are watching me 24 hours, 7 days a week when I'm taking a shit or pissing in the shower. I'm not taught these things. I had to discover them myself. Now, how is it being done? I don't know. It would be really interesting to find this out. So, the Bruce person is now coming out with their life story, right? So why are they harassing me as a transsexual female and trying to get me to go back to living my life as male? I already went through my transition, for the most part. I'm choosing to live my life as that which is in alignment with my mind, not that which I have been taught to be. I am choosing, and it's very challenging to do that in a very unsupportive society. See, if we would have been taught about these things as kids growing up, we wouldn't be arguing about them at 40 years old. About what's right and what's wrong. So meanwhile, what I'm saying is, they're trying to get me to go back, but meanwhile, these here celebrity people are starting to come out of nowhere. Why? Who knows why? But all of a sudden you realize that the ideas and everything you're talking about, big shows, big classy shows, very similar to that of Brian Setzler's big orchestra music, but even greater. Big shows. When you feed off of that and you have a childlike imagination and you're very creative and you talk out loud to yourself all the time, they're right there taking all these ideas. And all of a sudden now there's a big explosion in the music industry from people of the 80s, people that I was talking about in my video blogs. All of a sudden they're starting to pop up out of nowhere and they're doing orchestrated music. Why all of a sudden are they doing that? Who knows? Some people would say they always did it. I say not so. All of a sudden, this is coming out of nowhere. It's coming out of me. Because the things I'm talking about, they're taking from me and they're going out and doing it. When I was here, I was doing a song by Happy. No sooner did I release that, Happy's out on the freaking radio airwaves. Okay, so it's a song title, so what, right? Let me tell you something. No sooner did I release a video Happy in my diaper, when I'm out in Las Vegas later on and I'm sharing my story, I walk into a pizza place and there's Miley Cyrus in a fucking goddamn diaper. I'm starting to realize that Taylor Swift and some of these other people, you know, the ones that are pampered and taken care of, like they're so fucking talented, really? They wouldn't stand a chance if they had to live on the street. All of a sudden, the ideas of things I'm talking about they're being used for their little celebrity babies, their princesses, right? And meanwhile, I'm doing my street time, going through a life of misery and hell. And because I've been raised in a society where we beat everybody up who's sociably different, which means I'm in alignment with my heart, and I have no support whatsoever because everybody's been taught that's ways of Satan. That's all wrong. That's not right. That's not what a boy is. That's not what a girl is. We're fighting over the stupidest stuff. These fucking celebrity people are fucking goddamn invading my privacy. Whoever's doing it, maybe not them directly, but people are doing it. Taking all those ideas and feeding it to them. So they're taking fresh insight of people's ideas and they're using them. You take away a person's thoughts or somebody's idea and you run with it, there you go. That's all they need is they need a resource of somebody who's very creative. And they will use you up and use you up until they feel that they tapped you out. And then their main goal is to freaking shut you down or set you up in a way to have you fucking murdered or to have you kill yourself. If you really knew how people that you look up to that are on the radio and doing stage performances or on television, if you really knew how and why they're in that position, it would make you vomit. It made me vomit when I seen somebody that I used to admire. I had a goddamn door poster of this fucking piece of shit on my wall as a kid growing up. Now that's my fault, right? Well, I wasn't raised right. The school that made me go to it, or my mom would go to prison, didn't teach me right. So the same person I'm looking up to, my fault, I don't look up to them now, is the same stupid piece of shit that ends up coming across my ideas. Was it when I used to send my Ohio daddy, when I came out here and I was bedridden, I used to write songs. And when I would write songs, I would put them in my email. And I would email him, sharing him my insight, what I'm doing, explaining to him that my calling in life is to do music. I didn't have nothing else but my goddamn music. And when you find out that this jackass that you used to look up to is taking your creative insight, no matter how, directly or indirectly, it'll make you want to find this son of a bitch and put him in a headlock. Smack his head into a pole. I can't stand people that take advantage of people who are going through struggles to the point that they could care less whether you live or die. They feed off of this. It's exciting for them. I believe these son of a bitches, especially Stephen C. Johnson, who has access to this thought. It's not mind control. They try to control your mind, but they get into your thoughts, trying to get you to do things that are totally out of alignment with who you would naturally be. I would not naturally be sharing you this story if Stephen C. Johnson would have left me the hell alone. And if Nashville itself, the people would wake the hell up, they would be aware of this shit going on down there, and they would find this person and lynch the shit out of him. He's very evil. Some people would call it Satan. I don't call it Satan, I call it a fat man who evidently had a lot of problems as a child growing up and became a very evil person. Either has access to technology or supernatural powers. But see, I couldn't believe that because when I was in his presence, he diluted everything that he was with the blackest of coffee, and he ate a lot of low-end food. So I would have to say that he has access to technology of some sort. Anyway, this is where I was when I started realizing the entire music entertainment industry, even political figures. That's right. I often wondered, is it possible that one of the blues players, like Richie Sambora's female partner, who knows? Who knows? Could it be possible that she's a transsexual? Maybe not. Is it possible the president's wife is a transsexual? Maybe not. Is it possible our president of the United States is a cross-dresser? Possibly so. One thing I've learned as I went through my life journey, that a lot of people in the LGBTQ community, is very unfortunate. See, there's variances. And the variances are so many categories. Because some people wear female the opposite of what they've been told who they are. In this case, they wear females. Males will wear females' clothing for sexual pleasure. Some of them would do it for relaxation. They're just cross-dressers, if you will. Not just cross-dressers, they're cross-dressers. And some people do it because that's who they are. They not only feel comfortable, it taps into who they are. A very femme spirit likes delicate clothing, fashion, okay? They don't want to be walking around with all this, what they've been taught is what they should be wearing clothing. Maybe nobody does. You know, the typical stuff we find at our retail stores. Cut like a freaking rectangle. Doesn't fit us right. This is where I was when I had the best moments in my life. I sang my whole 50-song project from 4:30, sometimes 3:30 in the evening until about 10, 11 o'clock at night, because there was people that would come down here and they really, it becomes territorial when you're doing street performances, and some people think that this is their spot. And I'm a firm believer that first come, first serve when you're on the streets. Now, if I were to respond to people who were trying to bully me off of this spot appropriately, I probably would have been put in jail. So I always had to bite my lip, because there's no reason somebody like me should be on the streets. I should be playing fucking goddamn stadiums around the fucking planet with some of the finest musicians and entertainers around the world, with the best stage productions, management, lighting crew, sound crew. What the fuck am I doing standing on the streets in Dayton, Ohio? Well, I'm learning the facts of life. You take the good, you take the bad, and there you have the facts of life. Is that going to be copyright infringement upon me, assholes? I can't stand anybody in the corporate entertainment industry, because to me, they're all a bunch of crooks. Why is that? Because I acknowledged how they operate. But I also learned a lot about self, the kindness of people that shine through. And I would never, ever, 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 ever change anything about it. Every time I come down here to this spot, I still love it as much as I did the first day I came. I bitched a lot of times for a lot of different reasons that I'd rather not mention at this time. Maybe someday I'll make a video about the things that I used to say. I was totally miserable. I couldn't believe what happened to me. Nothing was working out, and it's because I was applying teachings from Christian leaders like Joyce Myers, like Joel Osteen, like Dave Ashcraft, like other mega churches and other speakers. I'm applying this stuff into my life, and I'm not getting results that make sense. And then people would say, stop doing things, like Joyce Myers would say, stop doing something to expect to receive something. Not exactly quote, but basically, stop doing something to receive something. Well, hello? Why do you go to a psychologist? Why do you go to a doctor? Why do you go to a dentist when you have a toothache? Why have a soul ache? A spirit ache? There is so much out of alignment in my life. And I have come to learn, fuck Joyce Myers, circumstances really do matter. if we were here alone on the planet, we would create ourselves the most luxurious life that we could, especially if we were connected to masculine energy that was amazing, skilled with their hands. And life would be great. So I don't want to talk, I said a whole lot of stuff here. I love the Oregon district. I love Dayton, Ohio for what it is. None of the people that came to me made me feel like my life was threatened. They let me know that I was a news reporter in their eyes. Why are you telling everybody? Why are you telling everybody? Somebody who's a news reporter. And they had continuously tried to revert me back to the places I'd come from, which was a hard shell of what the world would call a man who hated everything, into this beautiful creature that says, I identify as a female species. And I love to love and I love to live. And I love to rock and roll and have fun. And now I was taken advantage of. And what do you do about that? Who do you turn to? Do you go to D.C., to the White House, kick in the door and say, I need to talk to Donald Trump? Well, some people would say, be respectful, call him President Trump. Fuck the president. I want to talk to the person who thinks they're in charge. Because I don't like what happened to me. And anybody who knows that we have programs like by NASA. How the hell does NASA afford to build these spaceships and fly to outer space? Where do they get this money at? Let me tell you something, I don't believe that rich people have money. I think it's a distraction and an illusion for people who aren't aware of it in their conscious mind. Now, I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. But when you start tossing around the numbers of all the equipment that something like NASA would have, which I admire very much, by the way, because I believe there's a lot more going on outside of this planet than we've ever been taught. Who wants to work for a little bit of freedom? That would be your hourly job, your salary job. Who wants to work for that? Don't you want to live your life? Like really live like you never lived before? Freely? Sharing life with others who simply love to be appreciated and appreciate appreciation. I learned a lot, and I'm here to tell you, be very careful on who you're looking up to. And I'll tell you straight up, people like Miley Cyrus, people like Taylor Swift, people that are considered national acts. Did you ever notice that people are getting awards for teams of people? Like in Nashville, they have like a line of grade A musicians. I don't know if that's what they call them, but they have the A group, and then they have the B group. You know, you can pay to have your album recorded down there by some of the best musicians in the world who pretty much play on every album, and every album sounds the same. Doesn't that piss you off when you turn on the radio? Are you aware that there are serious recording artists, and when they play in their natural state, that beautiful, unique sounds come out of it? Would that be why the industry of artists would invade their privacy and take everything they want to from them? It always bothered me why these Nashville, and I just saw it the other day, I forget what his name is, some country boy from down in Nashville is receiving an award. I'm here to tell you for what? How many people helped to write those songs, produce those songs? How many different musicians played on it? What would happen if he had to write the song himself, record everything himself, put everything together himself, and do everything by himself for himself. Well, chances are he wouldn't stand a chance. But with this being said, with all of those people, I'm here to tell you, after my experience in the recording studio, and after meeting a lot of recording artists that I knew, cross paths with, and always made me wonder, why aren't you a national recording artist? Or why were you and you aren't no more? All of a sudden I see this country boy receiving an award and I laugh my ass off. And I say to myself, intelligence says how many people it took to get that award, says that something's not right. Because in all honesty, the music sucked. And so did the song. It's very bland, really. Unlike somebody who really lived life, has something to say. Something similar to things that have been said before, but much different. Much greater, grander, bigger. Flashier and classier. Oh, some fat boy from Philadelphia will tell you at some point you feel like it's all already been done. And what they mean by that is what I've come to realize. The entire industry, political figures, religious communities, will find somebody like myself that cannot, I basically stand right out of the whole entire mold that we've been taught to live in. Can't do it. And they will investigate. And then they will take their teachings and go condition the rest of society. Some people would say somebody had to be sacrificed so that way they could reshape the conscious awareness of mankind. Well, I'm here to say I don't appreciate being misused like that. Maybe I'd appreciate it more if I would have been taught properly. Or maybe I'd appreciate it more if they would have gave me appropriate, lively circumstances that would have said, go ahead and use me, who gives a shit? But instead, they get their very best from people in struggle. And they think it's funny when the person decides to commit suicide, as Stephen C. Johnson said, as he laughed when he said, and I'm going to share that story with you. See, that's when you know it's a sure sign you don't want to be around somebody like that. They think it's funny. They usually just kill themselves. Well, that's really funny, Stephen C. Johnson. You fat buffalo head. It's so funny, isn't it? That people would be exposed to what people call secretly the Illuminati, which is nothing more than a bunch of jackasses who are putting everything in your face. And they love to get into the minds of the masses and fuck it all up. They love to see people fighting and killing and doing all kinds of fucked up shit. I don't. I like to see people have a good time. I like to hug people. I'm better with people in passing. I have a serious struggle with living in other people's idea of life. It's not in alignment with what I've come to know is appropriate for myself. So, Flying Hogs, very popular club. New is whatever that is, and whatever this is here. This is where I used to rock and roll, baby. Down here in my boots, sometimes my cat outfit. And I gotta say that I'll probably come back here at some point and play again for fun. I really like it. It brings tears to my eyes, really. There's so much of me that loves Dayton. And I'm going through a lot of pain and agony because I know how I ended up on this sidewalk. And I know what happened to me when I was here. And it pisses me off because when I go back, I realize that a lot of these people at any given point could have made the choice to extend a hand. And it would have kept me from going through hell. for years. One of those people was Bret Michaels. One of those people was Jim Femino. One of those people was Stephen C. Johnson. One of those people who stood before me in Cincinnati is Bon Jovi. There's a lot of different people. People that I met when I was down in Nashville. That I'm not going to tell you names of different people that I met when I was in Tennessee, because I am not like that. I'm only outing the people that I know directly had something to do with my mental torture while I was here on the streets. And personally, I say, if I wasn't good enough for them at any given point, then I'm never going to be good enough. And I don't need the son of a bitches coming to me and tormenting me. And I most certainly don't want them fucking misusing and abusing me. At all. Who does? We're gonna go to a few more spots. I can talk forever about this. Down here at the Oregon District, I can imagine, because they're looking for somebody maybe to sit on a bucket, be 60, 70 years old, singing the blues with a crazy mind. They love to frickin' take the shit out of them. Go look up just a history of some of the greatest blues players. And know that people in the national recording industry, how they rape the shit out of these fucking people. Why not do honest business with them? Why not say, okay, you got songs. There's something to be made here. You need a livelihood. There you fucking go, kid. They don't do it like that. They just take whatever the hell they want and laugh in your face. And then they try to drive you nuts so that you kill yourself or do, in their opinion, destroy the rest of your life. This isn't destroying the rest of my life. You see, because I'm not allowed to have a real life here in America because I'm an American. This is where your own country leaders will be so jealous and bitter of anybody who's good looking and has even a little bit of talent, let alone a lot of creativity. And rest assured that if you're close to God and you have a love for the Holy Scripture and the Spirit is your hugest influence, you will piss off at large anybody who considers themselves to be in a worldly leadership position. Because they could only, what? Not even have a glance of what it must be like to go through the shit to become the person that you are. In other words, they could never do what you do. And they like it like that. And I'm here to tell you I don't like it like that. I don't like looking at some of the faces of my oppressors from a distance and knowing these are the people who fucked up my goddamn whole life ever since the day I went to school. It's time for a lot of change in this country. And we're gonna start by making sure psychology is taught to our children, so they don't become servants of other people's ideas of life. And we're going to start warning people that people like Joel Osteen and Joyce Myers are merely psychopathic entertainers who pretend to know what the fuck they're talking about. Let me ask you something. Did Joel Osteen ever live on the streets? Can he really tell you what it's all about? No. He was a pampered fucking goddamn prince his whole fucking goddamn life. He has nothing to really share to you. The shit he boasts around about is what? Fairy tale. Should sell the stories to fucking goddamn Disney. Anyway, I'm looking forward to sharing more. We're gonna go to some other spots. How you doing? It's good to see you. I'm gonna go to a few other spots. I really rampaged off on this. I am sick, personally. I wanted to share my life story. Really bad. It was very important to me. In fact, I wanted to turn it into a book and even a movie at some point. Well, now I don't care about those things because this is a YouTube age and we can just make our own videos and post them online. My question is people like Donald Trump going to be able to look at me in the eyes and tell me that my freedom of speech cannot be done? Will I have to be reprehended because of what I think about these people? Life is the most precious gift to all. And that's why I get so freaking angry. Knowing that these people are just simply slopping up the minds of the masses. Taking away from people that with just a little bit of the right support alone would be world changers. Correctors, as well as. I love you guys. Maybe someday I'll come down here, walk around the Oregon District, and I'll take the opportunity to show you. It's pretty nice stuff. It's Saturday, I think. It is autumn. I shot some videos down here. Did a lot of live performances. Cat outfit, not cat outfit. What I used to like, and I used to say a lot of times, is I didn't know if God's turning me into a politician or an entertainer. But people used to drive by here when I was playing. And a lot of people would beep the horn and wave to me. And I remember that I was scared to death at first because am I going to be arrested? Because we have so many fucked up laws that I had to be terrified to play my guitar in the street. Because I witnessed firsthand how not all cops, how crooked some cops are. They will make shit up to ruin your life. My specific situation that I'm talking about that really has me on fire today is with York Police Department. A very crooked undercover cop that day planted money on me and said that I took money in exchange for agreement to have sex with somebody, which is considered to be prostitution. I say, if you're given sex for money by choice because you want to, then that is freedom, baby, that they're taking away. Now, if you're being forced to do it, now there's what? There's justice to be served. I can't stand the prostitution laws in this country. Because I've never not met a prostitute in my whole life, and that is usually people who are doing things out of alignment of their heart, doing things for wrong reasons, in accordance to God and God's word, and are designed to be. I think I got it all out. I hope someday, in the near future, when I get bored at home, I can walk through Dayton and just ramble on, because there's a lot of nice things down here. There is a Goodwill thrift store that I love to go to. The people are very, very friendly there. A lot of times here, on a Friday and Saturday night, it's a very safe place to be, a very friendly place to be. A lot of laughter, a lot of socializing. And in my opinion, whether you're LGBT or not, most of the time, people are very accepting. You get occasional laugh, but as long as you get that we're all learning about ourselves, you just got to be able to laugh at people who are laughing at you. It's not their fault that they weren't taught right, because I wouldn't be laughing at somebody because they're a little different to my mind. I might laugh with them. But who the hell wants to go around and try to make somebody... You can only imagine what a transsexual female... This Bruce person, I can only imagine through their outwardly transitional steps, I can only imagine that they shared. But what was it really like for them? Let me tell you something. You want truth as to what it's like being a transsexual female in this country? And you knew a lot of the facts of what happened to a lot of transsexual females, your minds, your circuit breakers would blow. this is where I also learned, at some point, one of my things is that I wanted to do more than anything is I wanted to use my talents in my music. At some point, I've changed now. I realized that I made one of my biggest mistakes was when I got involved in the Christian community. That's not a big mistake, but when I wanted to do things for a purpose. Because I cared about other people. Because what I realized is when you start caring about other people, those people aren't going to give a damn about you in your time of need. As everybody I once knew shunned the shit out of me. But I was living in the household, and I didn't know at all how to go about it. I kept trying to talk to the owner of the house about the way I felt that it should be handled, because I was more or less being disrespected, and I'm the one who wants to try to get something great going. But I don't have the finances, and I'm being dependent on somebody else. Meanwhile, I also want to do my music. So there was a lot of being lost when I'm watching these programs as to what it is that's really in my heart and I want to do. Well, I wanted to help the transsexual community, specifically. There's other people who can help the gay community, right, in many different ways, but my heart went out to especially transsexual females. Why? Because I'm a transsexual female and I went through hell. And I had a lot of transsexual females that I crossed paths with. And when I hear their stories, it would break me down because I could relate. And it broke my heart to hear it a lot of times. Check this out. Hello, everyone. Have a nice weekend. That was pretty cool, wasn't it? So times are a lot different, but what I wanted to say is, I don't know if it's true or not because I came across this on Facebook, but that is when I realized that Miley Cyrus was somehow doing something with the transsexual community in New York City. And what I have to say about this is I think that's magnificent if it's true. Because people should be helping people in every way possible. If that's what they feel led to do. However, I can guarantee you that when people like maybe even Elvis, people that we consider icons, they're used for agendas, especially nowadays, to brainwash society and get them in a way of thinking that people behind the scenes, so to speak, they want to navigate the awareness of people. They want to keep you living in a life of confusion, but they also want to navigate people's way of thinking. So they use celebrities to do that. So they have their agendas. Maybe some of it's pure, some of it's good, maybe some of it's not so good. But it is also used to keep people distracted, keep people fighting, arguing. Now you can imagine when I'm down here and I'm busting my ass off after everything I went through, and I'm learning that all my heart's desires are being used in the music and entertainment industry. Now some of these people might like to want to make an ass out of me because I'm sitting here and I'm complaining about it. I'm telling you, I would like to take Miley Cyrus into a mud pit and body slam her. Now why would I like to do that? Because I believe that her dad, Billy Ray Cyrus, also is a corrupted piece of shit. Now why do I think that? Well, it's my freedom to think whatever the hell I want, but I met people in Ohio, specifically somebody who is a hell of a songwriter, and when I listened to little insights of things that they had said, though they never directly said, I had an idea that somehow, some way, that jackass from Kentucky, supposedly, that people from the music industry rape the shit out of people like some of the people I met. And then I witnessed it myself. And I can share little ideas of things that were coming to me through my Facebook, which is what they targeted me on. By the way, they blocked my Facebook. They blocked my YouTube. In other words, they're trying to shut me down because they control everything. So they wanted to make their little princesses of the earth America's little celebrity princesses. Is that it? Meanwhile, there's somebody here that's not looking at it the same way by any means. You just want to do greatness. It's inside of you. You got to do something great. You're here on this earth to do something great. Was it because I was a student of Joel Osteen? Who knows? But it's locked inside of you. You're on fire, and God damn it, you want to do something with your life. That means something to you if nobody else. And meanwhile, while you're caught in the struggle, and your heart is for children's rock and roll ministries, so you're willing to put on a diaper and rock and roll, and next thing you know, there's Miley Cyrus in a fucking goddamn diaper. You want to help the transsexual community in every way, and all of a sudden this Bruce, whatever the fuck it is, comes out of nowhere while they're trying to force you back into being a male. And all of a sudden now Miley Cyrus is helping the transsexual community, right? And all of a sudden now Taylor Swift is doing all these shows that are very similar of things that you're talking in the privacy of your home. Where did all this shit fucking come from? How could it be the whole entire entertainment industry is feeding off of your fucking creative insight? Maybe because I'm a genius. And they're very difficult people who know how to use other people as resources for ideas. So that's all they need is ideas, and away they go. My hope would be that they do the things that they do with the right hearts and for the right intentions. But I don't fucking appreciate that they use me as a resource and didn't give back. See, I could take it much differently if I was used for a resource and I was treated good. But they have been trying to bring me to the point of committing suicide, and I will not do that. However, I will share my story and the details of it in time with how people in the music industry, people in the religious community industry, and in the political realms have been fucking using me as a resource. In my opinion, either to brainwash society or just fresh ideas for themselves to look good in front of others. You can decide that yourself. Onward to the next place. Down here at the Oregon District, beautiful place. If you ever get the chance, come here on a Friday or Saturday night. It's safe, it's beautiful. Friendly atmosphere. Adios.